build your business by relationships. Generate your deals by relationships. Why? Because it's really hard to have expectations conversations when they don't trust you anyways. You're just like a commodity because you were the first person that called. I'm not saying you can't do that, right? I'm just saying start thinking about how do I start pushing and shifting my business to be more from referral and from people that show up to you and trust you already. Because this is a hard market. It's not about speed, it's about skill. What's up, faithful agents? We have got a special conversation for you today. Just Cole and I here. We're going to be talking about how do we navigate today's current market. High interest rates, everything still happening in Iran, lots of homes on the market, buyers being picky, all the things going on. We're going to talk about how do we navigate today's market right now in July of 2026. This episode is for you. It's going to help you build and continue to grow your business. But you guys know this would not be a Faithful Agent podcast without dad jokes. So, Cole, order away, my friend. What you got, buddy?
Without further ado, what did the water say when Jesus walked across it? Well, this is a surface level relationship. But
that's hilarious, actually. It's hard for me to give you credit, but you deserve credit. That was pretty funny. Okay, let's see what I came up with. A man died and went to heaven. He was met at the pearly gates by Saint Peter, who led him down the golden streets. They passed stately homes and beautiful mansions until they came to the end of the street where they stopped in front of a rundown cabin. The man asked Saint Peter why he got a hut when there were so many mansions he could live in. Saint Peter replied, I did the best I could with the money you sent us.
Oh my gosh, it's finally a good one.
That's actually pretty funny.
That's not bad.
I like that. Oh, geez. Well, it is an interesting market right now. And man, I want to hear what you're seeing in your market. Well, I'll share what we're seeing in our market. But then, at least nationwide right now, mortgage applications are down. Right? Rates are even, I saw this morning, mortgage applications fell again 2 weeks in a row, even though interest rates are lower than they have been. Right? So what is happening in the market? What's going on? What are you seeing right now, buddy, where you are? And then I'll fill you in on what we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. I see an excess of supply. I see buyers being extra picky. I see homes going back on the market. And I think it all comes down to expectations. So sellers, and I still can't believe that this is true, but sellers still believe their home is going to sell quickly. And then when it does go under contract, everybody's screaming with joy and inspections come in. And then buyers have this expectation that the seller, you're going to fix everything because if you don't, I've got 17 other options. And the seller's like, I'm not going to fix that. That's so petty. And everybody agrees that it's petty. And buyers are like, yeah, I'm going to hold firm. And they back out. And that's the short version of what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah, we're seeing, similar, right? We're a heavy military area. So we see a lot of military in and out all the time. They're definitely shifting more towards renting because I'm only going to be here 2-3 years. Why am I going to pay 6.5% rate, which we all know, you're paying 100% rate at your rental, but so we're seeing a lot of that. We're definitely seeing, we have, and you probably do too, we have some homes that will sell crazy fast still, right? And others that just, why aren't we getting traction at all? We had, at least my team, had probably our best first half we've ever had. And that's in 12 years, right? Just crushing it. And then all of a sudden, I would say the mid-June, like when local public schools were getting out, all of a sudden it just stopped. Right. No activity happening for probably 2 weeks. And we're getting trickling activity now on listings. Right. But yeah, it's been strange. Did you see a pretty steady business and then all of a sudden a slowdown or has it just been this way the entire year?
I was actually terrified in the beginning of the year because I sold 2 in all of January and all of February. And, I go to my bride, I'm like, hey, I don't think this real estate thing is working out. We all have those conversations. And then I sold 7 in March, 7 in April, 7 in May. So,
Awesome. It just picked up real fast.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
did. But I know a lot of people said January and February felt like that, March felt like that, and then it
Mm,
picked up in April and May. But we have such a climate base because we are a true 4 seasons in the mountains.
mm.
And so, yeah, people come out in April and May and the sun comes out and everybody's happy in tax season. And then all of a sudden our market kind of comes back. So,
Mm.
but they're still sitting. I mean, I think if I'm just telling people, hey, if it's priced well, it'll sell. If
Yeah.
it's not, it won't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting. So my lead agent, Jesse, who started with me in 2020, right? I remember in 2023 when he started 2 months before COVID. So 2023 comes around, he has a listing on the market. It hasn't sold in 2 weeks. He's calling me freaking out like, "Dude, what do I do?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I forgot that I never had to teach you how to have a price reduction conversation, right? We never had to worry about Friday market updates to our sellers because it was gone by Friday, right? And so, we've definitely shifted into, and I've seen this a lot. We had someone on recently too that was talking about open houses, and I've actually been coaching some agents. They've been talking about open houses, and doesn't mean those are bad, but what I found, at least Cole, right now with the conversations I'm having, a small group of people, it's they're doing open houses because what they really should be doing is having the hard conversation with the seller, but they're afraid of it. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, well we'll do another open house. Well, that's not going to work, right? Like that's not how you sell the house. I think we need to be equipped and skillful in having conversations with sellers. You said expectations. I want you to unpack that here in a sec. But being able to go to the seller initially and say, look, here's the reality. The market's not moving. This is what's happening. And so I need you to know what's going on in the market and telling them everything that's happening. And I want you to be positioned to be the next one to sell. Now, I still think this is true, Cole, and I've used this dialogue so many times in my career, but I've gone to someone. So we had someone today price at 720. We needed to get them down to 700, right? So it's like, look, here's the reality of the market. They happen to be in my neighborhood, so I want them to sell for more, right? But here's the reality of the market. You priced at 720. We're not getting a ton of traction. The few showings have said we're overpriced. We need to reduce the price, right? We need to get to 700K. First of all, that opens us up to a new set of buyers. Buyers search in $25,000 increments, right? You're going to see, new eyeballs. But here's the best line that we use. So I'll say, but here's the reality, right? If you go from 720 to 700 and it's an incredible deal, I guarantee you, even in this market, it will get bid back up. Like it just will. There are enough buyers that are looking that if you give a steal of a deal, it's going to get bid back up. But if we drop to 700 and we still don't sell, you'll be glad we didn't waste any more time at 720. Right?
Yeah.
Like they can't argue with that logic. And so that's been helpful for us to say, man, it's just about positioning you. We want you to sell. We're not going to sit around and wait on it. It doesn't help either of us just to sit on it. Right. But just being willing to have those hard conversations with sellers is, I think, something that a lot of agents aren't willing to do. But especially as believing agents, we need to recognize like our responsibility here is to serve them well. You're not serving them well by doing an open house to mask the real problem, right?
Yeah.
Which is your price too high. Yeah. What do you think? And talk to me about, how you're setting appropriate expectations for people.
Yeah. And I think I shared this on maybe when we were talking with Janet Brink a couple weeks ago is the quote, nobody gets angry until they're surprised.
Mm,
And so if we are as agents are setting healthy expectations in the very beginning, what we need to not only do is set the expectation, but we also need to establish a plan. So instead of the sellers being surprised at day 49 and they're like,
mm,
oh my gosh, why hasn't my home sold? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. So do you remember when we had that conversation? The average days on market is 63. We're not even quite there yet.
mm,
However, our game plan is on day 60. If we don't have these results, we're making an adjustment. And that adjustment is $20,000. If we don't have the results, okay, we're going to another 30 days. We're going to see, we're going to look at, I'm going to give you that weekly updates. Okay. Don't forget, I'm going to be there. I'm not ghosting you, but I'm setting the expectation and I'm making a plan
mm,
so that the seller is not confused as to what we are doing. And one of the ways I think we should do that is one, ask for permission, but then also understand how they communicate. As an educator, I was always thinking, hey, are you a visual learner? Are you an auditory learner? Or are you tactile kinesthetic? Like, do you learn with your hands? Do you learn with your ears? Or do you learn by seeing? And so you can ask for permission. Hey, do you mind if I share this with you? Do you want to hear this? Do you want to see this? Or do you want to feel this? And then give them those options. So what I've been doing is sharing, "Hey, do you remember what the housing market was like in 2018?" And they're gonna be like, "No, I have no idea." Okay, well, here's a bar graph. You look at 2018 and you look at now, it's the exact same, at least in my market is.
Hmm.
And so, or maybe 2018 might have been a little bit slower. And I would ask, "Hey, did you think that the market was failing, crumbling, or that the world was gonna die in 2018?" And they're like, "No, I mean, I thought it was a pretty healthy market." Yeah, so did everybody. And then COVID happened and it reset these expectations. So I'm just gonna affirm you, hey, I'm not saying it's normal because 5 years ago wasn't normal, 3 years ago wasn't normal, 10 years ago wasn't normal, but based on this curve, this is where we're at. So let's set healthy expectations. And then we also have to make a plan. And those conversations are not fun, but they're way more fun before you list as opposed to 69 days or 87 days or 142 days of being on the market.
Yeah, this is good, man. What if the next level of success in your business has less to do with finding a better strategy and more to do with surrendering to God's?
That question is exactly why we're bringing the gathering to Northern Virginia on September 10th and 11th at the Dulles Airport Marriott. It's a 2-day experience to help believers in real estate grow not only in their business, but their faith, leadership, families, and impact.
Now, don't get us wrong, we are going deep on business. You'll learn from some of the top agents, leaders, and entrepreneurs in the industry, from lead generation, marketing, social media, systems, leadership, all of it.
But we're also going to wrestle with questions most business conferences never ask, like what would it actually look like to fully surrender your business to God? What happens when you stop building from pressure and start building from purpose?
What if the gifts and the calling God placed inside of you were meant for something far greater than just personal success?
That's the room we built. 2 days of practical business training, authentic community, powerful worship, prayer, and real conversations with people who get your heart and your work.
Because the goal was never just to build a bigger business. It's to build a life that glorifies God and a business that becomes an extension of that calling.
And right now, the first 50 people to register get 50% off.
So if God's been nudging you towards something more, don't wait. Grab your ticket today while the discount's still here. Go to thesaltyagent.com or click the link in the show notes.
Our prayer is that He fills that room with exactly the right people. We'd love for you to be one of them.
Can't wait to gather with you. All right, back to the show. Yeah, man, so Friday updates, right? It's a video to the seller, and I want to know how you do yours, right? But every Friday, sending a video of us just looking at the MLS, like, hey, and using the names so they don't think it's just generic, but hey, Cole, just want to give you another Friday update. Here's what's going on. We're sending, seller feedback as soon as the showing goes through. And my rule of thumb is I never send positive feedback. I only send negative feedback. I know that feels weird, but it doesn't help the seller to be like, well, they really like your floors. They're like, well, I don't care. What they need is actionable data. So that's what I'm going to share, right? But so Fridays, here's what's been going on. Here's what's going on in the market. Here's what went under contract, competition, blah, 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 all the things, right? And then so what I'm doing is, because I believe very much, and we want to speak to the rational brain, not the emotional brain. One of the challenges and mistakes I think that agents make is the first time we bring up quote unquote bad news is the exact same time we're trying to convince them to change something, right? So if I said to Cole, hey, Cole, this is the first time you're hearing this, you need to drop 25 grand. You want to do that? Their first reaction is emotional. I can't get anywhere talking to their emotional brain. So we typically do a 30-day price reduction every 30 days. I'll explain our 4-week marketing plan, how we do that. But so on week 3, right before we're going to have to do a price adjustment, I call it a price adjustment, right after our week 3 video, what I'm saying to them at the end, Cole, is say, hey, just a reminder, right, which we agreed to at the beginning, just a reminder, if we don't have an offer this week, which hopefully we will, we're continuing to push it out, then we're going to need to be talking about doing that price adjustment next week. We don't need to do it now, right? Like immediately, we're not talking about it right now, but if we don't have an offer, I'll give you a call and we got to figure that out because we need to adjust, right? So it's the first time they hear it is well in advance. It doesn't mean they might not still be emotional, but it's been in their brain. I do the same thing with PICRA stuff, right? You talked about that. is I never, 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 when I get a picker, I never send it to them and call them right away, right? I will always send it to them and say, hey, let me know when you get a chance to see it. I wanted to get this over to you. And then when they text me, I'll call them like 2 hours later. I don't need to talk to the emotional brain. It doesn't help any of us. It's talking to the rational brain that matters, right? And then finally, and I want to hear how you do it, but we also just have a 4-week marketing plan that will have them sign in a slower market, right? That says like, this is what we do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 to market your home. And at the end of this, right, it literally says at the end of 4 weeks, if we haven't sold, we need a price adjustment so we can restart this plan, right? Do you agree with that? And we have them sign it, right? Because it's like, what else? How can I keep marketing it? Nothing has changed. There's literally nothing I can do. And so, and we get that kind of like I think you were doing, but we get that agreement in writing in advance. And that's really helpful when we get to those conversations, right? But what are you doing in terms of updates and having those kinds of conversations? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I love that. That's a good strategy, Garrett. One thing I've started to do, and I don't remember where I learned to do this. I think we had a meeting at our brokerage and a couple other agents were doing it. But in the monthly updates, hey, here's what buyers have chosen in the last 60 days. Take a moment. How do they compare to your home? And why do you think
Is this video? Sorry. Is this video? How are you doing this?
there's a couple ways you could do it. If you do a video, share it with them and say, hey, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow, whatever, Friday at 10, like we always do. But I want you to see this information first so that we have something to talk about on Friday.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. So then they can see that people are still buying homes, but they just haven't chosen mine. So what about the homes that they have chosen are different or comparative to mine? So I think that's helpful. And then I share at the onset, hey, if we have 50 people lined up and they're super excited about your home, will that make you excited? And they'll say, yeah, of course. Okay. If we have 50 people walk through the door and none of them say yes, it's a condition problem. What we have presented is not what they expected. If we have 0 people lined up and you have no offers, it's a price problem. Always. So which scenario do you want the most? Choose it. And you have the opportunity to choose it. So I always say, hey, I'm the driver, but you're the steering wheel. So I want to make sure that you know where you're going.
That's good. Yeah, there's so much of this, to your point, if you send them all of these listings, you're sending everything that was sold in the last 60 days, I think is what you're saying.
No, not everything. Within reason.
Okay.
That's a 2,000 foot house, like a 1,500 to a 2,500.
Got to be a comp. Yeah. Sure.
Some way.
Yeah. Okay. But then it's like, all right, let's say it's 500 grand. If you had 500 grand, which house would you have bought? Right. And, whatever, just like helping them understand, which is because they have the emotions of, well, I know that hole in the wall is a hole in the wall, but that's where little Johnny bumped his head when he was 3 years old. And, like there's emotional value attached to the home. The buyer doesn't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to them. The buyer's a Walmart shopper that looks for the best price for the best possible, quote unquote item they can get. That's how the humans work.
Speaking of that, let me interrupt you for a second. Have you ever heard of the endowment effect?
No.
I'm pretty sure this is it. Hopefully, maybe you can Google this. Somebody can fact check me on the radio. But it was a Duke versus UNC basketball game study, and there was a massive, Duke versus UNC, big in North Carolina, and they went to the game and beforehand, and they were asking some of these sellers, "Hey, how much do you believe your ticket is worth?" And they said something like $800. And then they went and polled a ton of buyers and they were like, hey, how much would you pay for this ticket? And it was like $100. And so there's this massive gap between a seller's expectation of what they have, the value in which they hold, versus what a buyer is willing to pay. And so I always share that study and I'll say to my clients, hey, this is probably not you, but I want you to realize that this effect is real and it applies to basketball tickets. It applies to a piece of gum in Walmart, and it applies to a $500,000 house. Yeah. What do you think about that study?
It is, yeah. The endowment effect. Yep. Yeah, so interesting. I mean, it's true, right? Of course, we all assign more value than it's worth. We often say if we come in with a number lower than what the seller hopes for, right, or what they wanted when we were talking about listing it, the reality is, look, you're not going to sell high and buy low, right? That just basically doesn't happen. And if you sell low, you're probably going to buy low, right? And that's okay. So like, that's just the reality. If your price is lower, your purchase price is lower. If your sale price is higher, your purchase price is higher. So, think about COVID. Congratulations, you got 100K more. You also spent 100K more, right? I mean, that's just the nature. This is how it's simple supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
To give these expectations. One thing that I learned from actually someone I used to coach, I hate Zillow, right? For many reasons, but this is a Zillow trick. And I found this fascinating. I just pulled up one of our listings. I haven't looked yet. It's been sitting on the market for a little while, but she said it had come out with data and basically it said, if you look at how many views a house has on Zillow and how many saves it has, right? So if it has more than 10% of people have saved it, it means it's underpriced. If exactly 10% means it's spot on the price. If it's under 10%, so like 5% of people have saved it, it means the Zillow market, the people looking around at all the other homes think it's too high. Okay, does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I'm looking at one that we've got, and I just pulled it up. 3-bed, 2,100 square feet, super nice. Yep, it's 25 days on Zillow. It's got 1,141 views and only 55 saves, right?
Wow.
Well, it's still sitting there. Man, every time I've used that because sellers, so it's 4.8% of people have saved it. Sellers put a lot of stock into Zillow, right? Are you pulling up one of yours?
Yeah, I really am.
Pull it up. Yeah, what does it say?
All right, where's my views? All right, so 391 views, 14 saves.
Interesting. Okay, so 391. Yep, 3.5, almost 3.6%.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I purposely chose that one because that one's so overpriced.
Is it? There you go.
Yeah,
But
overpriced by like 45 grand.
nice. But telling sellers that because Zillow is something that they put too much stock in, and then using that to our advantage, because I've seen that be true over and over and over again, that data has never proved to be wrong, right?
Wow.
It just hasn't. Yeah, it's just super fascinating just as a way to do it, right? But then flip real quick, because I think on the buyer side, you do have the reality that they can be a little bit more picky. We're in a market where no one's really moving because they're excited about it. They're moving because it's like, well, the rates haven't come down. I mean, my wife and I just signed an agreement to build a house, right? It's not like we're excited about that process. Don't get me wrong, but it's not COVID where everyone's like, yeah, I'm so excited to go buy a house. I got a 2.5% rate. This is going to be amazing. I'm looking at it like, man, this stinks. If it was 2.5, this would be cheap as mess, right? And so nobody's super excited about it, but buyers are entering the market with this unbelievable amount of, to your point, the expectations. The seller still remembers their friend who sold 3 years ago and how fast it went and how much it sold for. The buyer now realizes it's not COVID market, and they're like, yeah, there's tons of demand. Interest rates are high. Like nobody wants to move. So I'm just going to be picky about everything. I'll put an offer in and then I'll back out later. Who cares? I know everybody's different. I think you lose your deposit. We don't, right? We put a deposit in, but they can get it back. So there's no money even really truly invested in our market. So you see a lot of cancellation. And so how are you navigating with buyers to make sure that they don't just keep swinging and then letting it go and swinging and letting it go? How do you handle the buyer side of that too?
Quick question for you. Did you get into real estate to create more freedom for yourself and for your family, to live a more faith-filled and purposeful life? Now, if that is true, and I believe it probably is, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like you're having to be on your phone almost around the clock? And do you feel like you oftentimes have to work weekends when you'd rather be at church or with your family? Or do you feel like you're constantly chasing attention on social media? Now, does all that feel like freedom? For many, it does not. The good news is this. The Homeowner Concierge is a simple platform that scales your referral relationships. It's not just dependent upon the relationships that you have, but the referral relationships that your preferred vendors have. Now, if you're interested again in having more referrals, so much that you don't have to live in scarcity, you can live in abundance, and you can have that freedom that you desired, I want you to go to proinsight.com/faithful. Like the Faithful Agent podcast. Again, it's proinsight.com/faithful. You're going to watch a quick video there. If what you see there resonates, you're going to schedule some time together, and I'll walk you through how we're helping real estate agents to, again, scale their referral relationships and finally get the freedom that you desire.
Man, listening super, super well. I think if you're not doing buyer consultations, I don't know how you're still an
Mhm.
agent. So taking really, really good notes and reminding them before they buy, before they go under contract. Hey guys, I know that it sounds like you really like this one. Is that right? Yeah, yeah, we really like this one. We're really considering an offer. Okay. So guys, I want you to go through the house one more time and I want you to physically take your rose colored glasses off. And here are the 10 things that you told me are the absolute most important things. Here's the five non negotiables. Here are the five negotiables. And I want you to go through, physically write them down again. And I want you to physically check off how many of the boxes does this check. So that's one thing, is reminding them what's important to them. The second thing that I started doing this about 9 months ago. Game changer, especially if you live in an area that has homes older than 30 years and you see things that come up on inspection reports. I am sharing my personal home inspection report that I got 2 years ago.
Mm. On
And
your
I,
house, you mean? Your
on
individual
my
house,
house.
okay.
Yep. Yep. And you could ask for permission from any previous
Sure.
client and say, "Do you mind if I just use your inspection report for things?" So I send my inspection report and I say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I see thousands of homes and I see probably hundreds of home inspection reports. You don't. I want to let you know they're scary. Here's why they're scary." And then I explain all about a home inspection and what they're looking for, yada, yada, yada. If you don't believe me, look at my home inspection report. Click here.
Mm,
And it shows them. And it's like, if you look at this, you probably think that my house is going to fall over and that it's a dump
mm,
hole. It's not. It's just built in the 1960s and it's a brick ranch. And so, blah, blah,
mm,
blah. Here's what I asked. And here are the questions that you can ask when you get a home
mm.
inspection. And I've had multiple people tell me, "Oh my gosh, I thought my house was a dump. But then I remembered, no way, Cole's house is a dump. Mine looks great."
Really? Interesting. That's
Yeah.
smart. Yeah, okay. Especially utilizing your own property is really smart, right? Because it's like even the vulnerability of like, I'm welcoming you to look at my own house and the problems that it have, and yet me as an agent still move forward. Yeah, that's
Yep.
super smart. I like that idea. Yeah, and if you could use somebody, I mean, I think if you have your own within the past few years, that's a brilliant way to do it, right? Is utilize your own inspection and just show them because uh, like, and your home inspector matters, right? Like, I always give the example of the home inspector we use, we love. He's been around for a long time, and I tell our clients in advance we use him. It's like going to the doctor, right? But you're going to a doctor who's been there for 20 years, and you show him like, well, look at this weird rash, doctor, and he says, yeah, I get it, but I've seen that 100 times. I think you're fine, right? We should watch it. I think you're okay. Versus the brand new doctor out of med school is like, I don't know what that is. Let's go get it. Let's go get a CT scan, whatever it is because they don't know. They don't have the longevity of seeing what it is and knowing whether it's good and bad, right? And
Yeah.
so what we want is the inspector knowing that all of these pieces, to your point, are super important along the way to say like, are they going to freak your client out? Are they what kind of language are they using in their PICRA or not their PICRA, but the inspection report, right? Like, is it whatever? Is it in bold red, like danger zone, or is it just stuff to be aware of, and having those kinds of conversations and you navigating it through it. And man, all of this, and I know how you run your business too, but once again, just a challenge and a call to faithful agents, especially build your business by relationships, generate your deals by relationships. Why? Because it's really hard to have expectations conversations when they don't trust you anyways. You're just like a
Yeah.
commodity because you were the first person that called. Not saying you can't do that, right? I'm just saying if you are doing that, start thinking about how do I start pushing and shifting my business to be more from referral and from, I know you do a lot on social media, but people that show up to you and trust you already because this is a hard market. It's not about speed, it's about skill. And so the people that are coming to you need to trust you or it's going to be really hard to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and I just wanna speak a little bit to the newer agent out there. You can do this too, and this is a great way for you to garner some business. Find the home inspector that you love or your team loves or whatever, and just say, "Hey, number 1, can I come along with you to your next inspection?" Or number 2, offer it up, as something. "Hey, you know what? This month, I wanna show everyone what a home inspection looks like, and I'm gonna pay for one of my clients or I'm going to do it on my own house. Here, let me take this home inspector to my house. You can take a bunch of short clips, patch it all together, post it on social media, and then just give information. You're airing your dirty laundry, and people all of a sudden are like, "Oh my gosh, he's not a schmuck," or he doesn't always use Bob Smith because of blah blah blah. It's like Bob Smith really looks after a home. Like he's an experienced guy, or he used to be a GC or whatever it is. So newer agents, you can do this. You don't have to borrow from someone, and there's so many touch points on that.
It's good. And I just want to reiterate, and we'll wrap up, but I want to reiterate something you said too. Do the buyer consultation. Do the listing consultation. I assume you are, but if you're not, agent, we have a ton of resources for you too, by the way. You can go to garrettmaroon.com and there's free stuff there that you can get my buyer seller packet. I'm sure if you message Cole, he'll happily send that to you too, right? Like we want Christian agents to win. But sit down with your people, have the conversation, ask them the questions to Cole's point, right? Is what matters most to you. Let's figure this out right now when we're not in the emotional state of the excited seeing the house, right? Like let's talk about this. And then I'll just remind you when you're walking through, I know you guys love this house. It's up to you. Just a reminder, the kitchen is the most important thing. That's what you told me. And this is not the kitchen that you described. Is that what you still want? Or vice versa to what Cole said. Hey, I know there's a lot of houses out there for you, but these are the things you said matter to you. And this house has it, right? And so let's do it. Let's move forward on this. If we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting to find the next best thing, right? We at least always shut down their MLS portal as soon as they go under contract, or as soon as the home inspection is done, where they can't get out of it anymore. There's no value in you just constantly, I should have gotten that. I should have gotten that, right? But like just honoring them in that, honoring them in the decision that they made. And then as faithful agents, I think we've got the unfair advantage of here's the reality. The Lord is going to bring you to the house he wants you to have. Like he just is. And so you as the agent and encouraging your client, especially if they're a believer, to just trust like, okay, Lord, keep the door open because this is the one I'm going to walk through. And if it's not what you want, please put like roadblocks in my way and make it really clear that this wasn't what I was supposed to do. But otherwise, I'm going to try to honor you by requesting an honorable amount of repairs if I'm a buyer, right? Because I'm not trying to be a jerk about it and screw over the seller. If I'm the seller, I'm going to say, I know that this is frustrating that they're asking for dumb things, but maybe there's a reason they can't afford it. They got little kids, whatever the scenario is. I'm going to try to honor them in that and do what I can. And we're going to do this honorably, right? And we're going to try to honor the other person. And I keep using that word. We're going to honor the person buying the home. We're going to honor the person selling the home. We're going to do it because we love Jesus, right? And we're going to act differently for that reason. And so I think we have to remember those things, that we represent Christ. More than anything, we represent Jesus in these transactions and the way we negotiate and navigate and all of those pieces. So we need to keep that in mind. But I hope this is helpful, man. I mean, I'm going to let you take us out and give us any final thoughts you have, buddy. But I hope, Faithful Agents, this is helpful. Just an honest conversation about maybe what we're doing right now, things that might help you, things that you could consider and what's happening in the market. And ultimately, I would just say your job is to get more skilled, right? That's number one. And then your job is to be prayerful about how you serve the people that you're called to serve, the people the Lord brought to you, and do it as well as you can, right? You don't determine the output. Your job is the input. The Lord is the output. And so seek excellence in the work and he will provide. He promises he will. And we can rest on that, man. So take us out, buddy. Any final thoughts? And then take us out for the week.
Yeah, for sure. It just reminds me, Romans 12:10 says, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. So our job is to be devoted to one another in love. So when we speak the truth, hey, we can remind our clients, hey, I just want to let you know that this is hard, but I'm doing this because I care about you. And then as we are continuing that relationship, we are honoring them. So that is from the scripture. And that is how we are going to wrap up this incredible conversation about what do we do in this super, super duper weird market.
And we'll see you next week. Hey, Christian Agent, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If it resonated, would you take 30 seconds and share it with another agent who's also trying to grow their business without losing their faith, family, or peace? That's how this message spreads. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. I release new ones each Thursday to help you build success that actually lasts. It genuinely fires me up knowing this podcast is helping you pursue excellence to the glory of God, both at work and at home. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode of The Faithful Agent.